The sun rose lazily over the vast expanse of farmland, painting the fields in shades of gold and green. Emeka stood at the edge of his family's land, the cool morning breeze ruffling his shirt. This was his haven, a place where he could work with his hands and feel the satisfaction of creation. At 25, Emeka had inherited his father's strong work ethic. From sunrise to sunset, he toiled in the fields, growing yams, cassava, and maize. His calloused hands and toned physique were a testament to his labor. Yet, despite the hardships, he loved this life. In the modest family compound, his father, Chief Okoro, was already awake, seated under the ancient baobab tree. The chief's presence was commanding, even in his casual moments. With his silver-streaked beard and traditional agbada embroidered with intricate patterns, he embodied wisdom and authority. Emeka, Chief Okoro called, his voice firm but warm. Come and sit. Emeka approached, bowing slightly in respect before taking a seat on the wooden stool beside his father. What are your plans for the day? The chief asked, taking a sip of his morning tea. I'll finish tilling the eastern field, Emeka replied. The rains will come soon, and I want to be ready for planting. Chief Okoro nodded approvingly. Good. A man must always plan for tomorrow. The land rewards those who prepare. Their conversation flowed naturally, filled with teachings, shared memories, and gentle laughter. This was their routine, father and son, sharing the weight of their family's legacy. The peace of their lives had been disrupted a year earlier when Chief Okoro announced his decision to remarry. His new wife, Adan, was a widow from a neighboring village. She was kind-hearted and elegant, with a quiet strength that complemented the chief's stoic nature. The wedding was a grand affair, blending the traditions of both villages. The compound buzzed with activity as women prepared elaborate meals and men set up the ceremonial canopy. Drummers beat their instruments with fervor, and dancers adorned in colorful wrappers moved gracefully to the rhythm. Emeka watched the ceremony with mixed emotions. He respected his father's decision but couldn't shake the feeling that things were changing too quickly. Adan seemed pleasant enough, but she was still a stranger. Tragedy struck 6 months later when Adan fell ill. Despite the chief's best efforts to summon the finest herbalists and doctors, her condition worsened. On a rainy evening, with thunder rumbling in the distance, Adan passed away. Her death left the household in mourning. Chief Okoro, though outwardly composed, was deeply affected. Emeka noticed his father spending long hours alone in the ancestral shrine, seeking solace in prayer. Amara's arrival brought a new wave of change. At 19, she was young, vibrant, and full of energy, though her eyes carried the weight of loss. She arrived with a small bag of belongings and a hesitant smile, unsure of how to fit into her new family. Emeka greeted her warmly, trying to make her feel at ease. Welcome, Amara. This is your home now. Thank you, Emeka, she said softly, her voice tinged with gratitude. Chief Okoro took on a fatherly role, ensuring Amara had everything she needed. He showed her the family's routines, introduced her to the villagers, and encouraged her to participate in their traditions. Amara adapted quickly, taking on household chores and helping Emeka in the fields. She had a natural charm that endeared her to the villagers, who admired her resilience. However, Emeka couldn't ignore the growing closeness between his father and Amara. At first, he dismissed it as a bond born of shared grief. But over time, small moments began to stand out, a lingering touch on the shoulder, an overly familiar laugh. Life in the village was deeply rooted in tradition. Every evening, the family gathered under the baobab tree for storytelling. Chief Okoro would recount tales of their ancestors, instilling pride and teaching lessons about honor and integrity. Amara quickly became a part of these gatherings, her laughter and curiosity adding a new energy to the family dynamic. She asked thoughtful questions, earning the chief's praise and further strengthening their bond. The family also observed rituals at the ancestral shrine, a sacred space adorned with carvings, masks, and other artifacts. Emeka noticed how his father often invited Amara to join him in these rituals, an honor traditionally reserved for blood relatives. As the days turned into weeks, Emeka's unease grew. He struggled to understand his feelings. Was he being overly protective, or was there truly something off about their interactions? The turning point came one evening when Emeka overheard a hushed conversation between Chief Okoro and Amara. Their voices were low, but the tone was intimate in a way that made Emeka's heart race. Amara, you are special, Chief Okoro said. You've brought light into this house. And you've given me a family, she replied, her voice trembling. Emeka stepped away, his mind swirling with questions. Were they simply expressing gratitude, or was there something more? He resolved to keep a closer eye on them, though guilt gnawed at him for doubting his father. The days following Emeka's suspicions were marked by an uneasy silence. He tried to go about his daily routines, tilling the fields, visiting the village market, and attending communal gatherings, but his mind often drifted to the odd behavior between Chief Okoro and Amara. He began to notice small details that might have gone unnoticed before. At meals, his father's attention lingered too long on Amara. She, in turn, seemed to seek his approval for every little thing. A shared laugh here, a stolen glance there, it was enough to make Emeka question everything. In the evenings, Emeka found himself retreating to the outskirts of the compound, avoiding the warmth of the family gatherings. The once unshakable bond between him and his father now felt fragile. The villagers, too, seemed to have noticed. Whispers began to circulate, subtle at first but growing louder as time passed. Emeka overheard fragments of conversations at the market. Chief Okoro spends a lot of time with that girl, doesn't he? Isn't she his stepdaughter? It's strange, isn't it? The gossip only fueled Emeka's doubts. He wanted to confront his father, but fear held him back. What if he was wrong? What if this was just his mind playing tricks on him? One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emeka returned home earlier than usual. The compound was quiet, the usual hum of activity replaced by an eerie stillness. He noticed a faint light flickering from the ancestral shrine, a place sacred to their family and rarely visited after dark. Curiosity and unease drove Emeka to approach the shrine. He moved silently, his bare feet making no sound on the packed earth. As he drew closer, he heard muffled voices, his father's deep baritone and Amara's softer tones. I can't keep doing this, Amara's voice quivered. It doesn't feel right. Amara, Chief Okoro replied, his voice tinged with desperation. You've brought life back into this home. Don't you see? We've both suffered loss. This is how we heal. Emeka froze, his heart pounding in his chest. Peeking through the narrow opening of the shrine, he saw his father and Amara sitting close together, their hands intertwined. The intimacy of the scene left no room for doubt. His world shattered in that moment. The man he had idolized, who had taught him the values of honor and tradition, was now the source of his deepest betrayal. Emeka spent the night in turmoil, unable to sleep. He replayed the scene in his mind, questioning how this could have happened. His anger burned hot, but beneath it lay a deep sadness, a sense of loss that went beyond the immediate situation. He avoided his father and Amara the next morning, choosing instead to work in the fields. The physical labor provided a brief escape, but his thoughts always circled back to what he had witnessed. Over the next few days, Emeka noticed more signs of the relationship. Chief Okoro and Amara's interactions were filled with a newfound tension, as if they were aware of his suspicions. Emeka struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy, but his silence spoke volumes. His closest friend, Chijoke, noticed the change in him. Emeka, you've been distant lately. What's troubling you? He asked during a fishing trip. Emeka hesitated before replying. It's family matters. Something I don't know how to handle. Family is complicated, Chijoke said, casting his line into the river. But whatever it is, don't let it fester. Talk to your father. The worst thing you can do is let silence grow between you. Unable to bear the weight of the secret any longer, Emeka decided to confront his father. Late one evening, after Amara had retired to her room, he approached Chief Okoro in the courtyard. Father, we need to talk, Emeka said. His voice firm but trembling. Chief Okoro looked up from his seat under the baobab tree, sensing the gravity of the moment. What is it, my son? I know about you and Amara, Emeka said, the words cutting through the silence like a knife. The chief's expression faltered, guilt flashing across his face before he regained his composure. Emeka, you don't understand. No, father, Emeka interrupted, his voice rising. I understand perfectly. You've betrayed everything you taught me about honor and tradition. Chief Okoro sighed heavily, his shoulders slumping as if a great weight had been placed upon them. I didn't plan for this to happen, he admitted. Amara and we found comfort in each other after Adan's death. It was never meant to go this far. Comfort. Emeka spat. She's your stepdaughter. Do you realize what this means? What this will do to our family? The confrontation grew heated, emotions running high on both sides. Chief Okoro defended his actions as a product of grief and loneliness, while Emeka accused him of selfishness and hypocrisy. Finally, the chief's voice broke. I know I've failed you, Emeka. I've failed our family. But I don't know how to fix this. Emeka stared at his father, his anger slowly giving way to a profound sadness. The man before him was not the unshakable pillar of strength he had always known, but a flawed human being. The confrontation left the family in a fragile state. Amara, overhearing parts of the argument, retreated further into herself, avoiding both men. Chief Okoro spent his days in the shrine, praying for guidance, while Emeka wrestled with his own feelings of betrayal and love for his father. Despite the pain, Emeka resolved to find a way forward. He sought advice from the village elders, who reminded him of the importance of family and forgiveness. In the days that followed the confrontation, the air in the family compound was thick with unspoken words. Emeka found himself caught between the hurt of betrayal and the deep love he still held for his father. He continued his work on the farm, but everything felt hollow. The land he had once tended with pride now seemed indifferent to his sorrow. His relationship with Chief Okoro had shifted in an instant. Though the chief tried to engage in their old conversations, Emeka responded with short, clipped replies. He could no longer look his father in the eye without remembering the intimate moments he had witnessed. Yet, despite the anger that burned within him, there was something else, a longing for the father he once knew. One evening, as Emeka sat outside, staring at the fading sunlight, his mind wandered back to the lessons his father had taught him. Chief Okoro had always emphasized the importance of family above all else. In their culture, the ties of kinship were sacred, and betrayal of that bond was unforgivable. But was this betrayal truly irredeemable? Could he reconcile his father's actions with the man who had shaped him into who he was? The internal struggle was exhausting. Emeka had spent his entire life revering his father, learning from him, even hoping one day to take up the mantle of leadership in the village. Now, that vision was clouded by the actions of the very man who had been his hero. Amara, too, was distant. She avoided Emeka's gaze, her movements slow and cautious. She seemed to carry the weight of guilt, though Emeka wasn't sure whether it was out of shame or the fear of facing him. He had seen the sorrow in her eyes, and for a brief moment, he wondered if she was as trapped by the situation as he felt. It was during these sleepless nights of reflection that Emeka realized one painful truth: he couldn't ignore the bond that had once existed between him and his father. Despite everything, Chief Okoro was still his father. The man who had been his mentor, the man who had cared for him and shown him how to live with honor. But could he still respect him after everything that had happened? Could they rebuild what had been broken? With his mind in turmoil, Emeka decided to seek counsel from the village elders. They were the keepers of wisdom and tradition, revered for their ability to mediate conflicts and guide the younger generation through difficult decisions. Emeka approached them with a heavy heart, recounting the events that had transpired. The elders listened carefully, their expressions grave but understanding. One elder, Ojukwu, a man with long, braided hair and a scar that ran down his cheek from a battle long ago, spoke first. This is a difficult situation, Emeka. What you are feeling, betrayal, confusion, sorrow, is natural. But you must ask yourself, what is the value of family if we cannot forgive those we love when they falter? Emeka nodded, but his doubts remained. I don't know if I can forgive him, Ojukwu. The bond between father and child, the trust we share, it feels like it has been destroyed. Another elder, Nena, a woman with sharp eyes and a quiet voice, added, Emeka, a man is not defined by his mistakes but by the strength to make amends. Your father is not a perfect man, and neither are you. We all fall short. But what matters is whether we rise again, whether we choose to heal. The elder's words lingered in Emeka's mind as he left the gathering. He had come seeking answers, but what he found was a deeper understanding of the complexity of human nature. That night, Emeka made a decision. He would speak to his father once more, not with anger or accusations, but with the intent to understand. He found Chief Okoro sitting outside, staring at the stars. The old man looked smaller in the dim light, as though the weight of his actions had diminished his once formidable presence. Father, Emeka began, his voice softer than he intended. Chief Okoro turned to him, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and hope. Emeka, I don't know how to fix this. I failed you, and I'm sorry. Emeka took a deep breath, steadying himself before he spoke. I don't know if you can fix it, Father. But I need to understand. What happened? How did it come to this? The chief hesitated, as if the weight of the question was too much to bear. I never meant for any of this to happen. When Adan died, I was lost. You were lost. And Amara, she was grieving, too. She reminded me of your mother, and I found comfort in that. It started as nothing more than shared sorrow, but it grew into something more. Emeka listened in silence, the truth slowly sinking in. Chief Okoro's actions were not born out of malice, but of deep loneliness and a longing for connection. Emeka couldn't excuse the betrayal, but he could understand it. You should have come to me, father, Emeka said quietly. I would have helped. We could have dealt with it together. I know, the chief said, his voice thick with regret. I was afraid, Emeka. I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want you to think less of me. For a long moment, neither man spoke. The silence between them was heavy, but it was a silence that carried with it a sense of understanding. Finally, Emeka spoke again. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, father. But I want to try. I want to try to heal. The chief nodded, tears welling in his eyes. Thank you, my son. That's all I can ask. Emeka spent the following days contemplating his father's words. Forgiveness was not easy, nor was it immediate. There were moments when anger flared, moments when he wondered if he was making a mistake. But deep down, he knew the truth. Amara, too, sought to make amends. She approached Emeka one evening, her face pale and tired from the weight of her own remorse. I never meant for any of this to happen, Emeka, she said softly, her voice trembling. I don't know what I was thinking. I just wanted to feel whole again. Emeka looked at her, his expression hardening for a moment. But then he saw the pain in her eyes, the same pain that had driven him to the edge of despair. He nodded, offering a small, reluctant smile. We're all broken, Amara, he said quietly. But we can rebuild, together. In that moment, Emeka knew what he had to do. The choice was clear. He would rebuild his family, not by forgetting the past, but by acknowledging it and choosing to move forward. The journey.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and do well to get full version of this story in the video section of this channel.